Hello everybody! Oh, these lives are so much fun. Let's just wait to see if anyone else joins. Do you like my new plant? I love this plant so much. I acquired this yesterday, and I put it beside where I sleep, and then I just felt like it was just this beautiful plant guardian, like looking after me as I was sleeping. Hello, welcome. Yeah, and I love this plant so much. It just makes me so happy. But yeah, I thought I would come on live today to have a little chat about this word that has been, I guess, circulating a lot around, trauma. I'll just say the word trauma. And I just wanted to touch on the word and kind of dive a little bit deeper into that, and because I feel like a lot of us on this journey, we are unpacking a lot of that stuff on this journey of healing. Hey Robel, hello brother. So today's live is just going to be a little touch on the word trauma and how it can help us grow and how it can help us on our life journey. And I believe that within our life journeys, I believe we come here and we choose what parents we're going to have. We choose what family we're going to be born into, because these are people that we've chosen to come and to experience life beside, to learn from them, to learn and to grow and to allow our souls to evolve. So I've decided to do a little live today on this word trauma, and then I'll save it and eventually maybe look at putting it on YouTube and just start doing some more face stuff like I used to do back in the day, get back on the camera, because I just love it. And this live thing is cool because we can connect no matter where we are in the world, ask questions, and then kind of interact that way, which is just so freaking cool. The age of Aquarius, the age of information, it's amazing. So I guess I'll just start and talk about trauma. Hey Chantel! So much love. I just love this so much that we can connect no matter where we are in the world. So I'm just going to dive a little bit into the word trauma, and just how important it is for our growth. And so much love. And I guess probably I could start with my own trauma and kind of trauma that I've experienced in this life. And I look at trauma now like such a gift. Trauma is such a gift. And sometimes I think we can look at trauma from like a real victim mindset, from a victim mentality. And I feel like if we get stuck in that victim mentality, it can stop us from actually growing. Traumas that I've experienced from growing up with a mother with bipolar, I would say not having a father around, experiencing a divorce, experiencing a life-threatening earthquake. It's like these sorts of things that come into our lives. I feel we've manifested them as well. And I feel like when you can take ownership of that, like, this thing seems so unfair, like why did this happen to me? But then when you can kind of take ownership, like somehow that you have somehow manifested this thing into your life, then you can get past it, then you can start to work through it, then you can start to move through it, and start to heal it, ultimately let it go, and then take that experience into your life, into your soul's evolution, because that's what I believe we're here for, to grow in our souls. I feel like with trauma, what I think the first thing is when you realize that you have a trauma. I think that's the most important thing, just admitting that to yourself, and then you can go down the lines of whatever you need to do to unpack that trauma, layer by layer, peel it back, And there's so many different ways that you can go down that journey. And ultimately, what I've been realizing over my past few years is like everyone's on their own journey. And you know, what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you or that person or that person. And that's the beauty of it, because you know, I can experience something and you can experience something, and the way we deal with it, you know, we can learn from those experiences even, and interact, exchange information, and through exchanging information we even learn something as well. So it's so beautiful. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to explain a little bit about different modalities that I've used in the past. So I guess, yeah, the catalyst for me within the past 8 years, I guess the catalyst that started me on my healing journey, I would say, was my divorce, my experience of going through a marriage breakup and going through a divorce. That took me down a line of going into therapy. My favourite, I think I went to like a few different people, where it's like you sit on the couch, you sit in the chair, and you kind of have a chat. And through those like small little, maybe I had a few of those interactions, I realised, oh, there's so much here to unpack. You know, you start to feel like all this energy and all this emotion start to rise up when you start to even speak about a certain thing, whatever it is. And then I went to see a guy in New Zealand, I think it's Aaron McLaughlin. Amazing. Like I did a few sessions with him over the years, and yes, we did a bit of like reframing work, bit of CBT, like cognitive behavioural therapy, possibly a bit of NLP, I can't quite remember. I do remember the word, NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming. But yeah, that guy totally helped so much. Hey beautiful Fleur, so good to see you. So yeah, just talking a little bit about trauma and how my experiences of trauma and how I've been able to kind of work my way through that, and still continuing to do so, because it's all just such a journey. So yeah, went through my divorce, went to see someone who helped me and did a bit of cognitive behavioural therapy, neuro-linguistic programming. So that was quite fun, because you would go back into like the memory, and it was almost like you were kind of a little bit hypnotized, but you were still conscious, you were still there. And then you'd go back into the memory, and what he did was like reframed it and reprogrammed that memory within my mind at that particular moment. And that's so cool, because I realized in that moment when I was having those experiences, like our brains are like, they're just a computer. Like you can program it however you want to program it. And when we experience trauma, the trauma will get stuck in our bodies, and then we'll remember that trauma. So then when we think of that trauma, our bodies react and respond and get tensed up, because body, mind, gut, it's all interlinked. So yeah, it was great when we were able to work through some of that stuff, which was really awesome. And then yeah, just throughout my journey, the last 8 years especially, I think for me personally, I went deeper and deeper into like my spiritual stuff. But before the spiritual stuff, it was like I was always kind of doing a lot of journaling, doing a lot of my own research, really delving into the depths of the mind and how the mind works and how the body works. And I feel like when you have a deeper understanding of this physical vessel, and how it reacts and responds to trauma, or because trauma, the word, it sounds very heavy, and it can be, but it doesn't have to be something. Trauma isn't something that's well, it's also subjective, isn't it? So trauma, it can be when you're being birthed into this world, coming through the birthing canal. That's a traumatic experience. You know, you fall as a kid and you break your arm. That could be a traumatic experience. Or you experience a divorce or a death, or it's, a really great documentary I would recommend watching on trauma is by a guy called Gabor Mate. He's like a Polish, maybe not Polish, don't quote me, I'm not too good at the details, but yeah, just look up the documentary Trauma by Gabor Mate, and I think he's a child psychologist, but he has a lot of stuff on YouTube, And yeah, that documentary, I had already had a bit of an understanding about the mind and trauma before I watched the documentary, but then when I watched it, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense, you know, like why people get addicted to things, you know, and to substances, and how the trauma can play out in our behaviour and in how we interact and interface with the world. So yeah, I would definitely recommend watching that. But yeah, it's all a journey, and yeah, as I was going through my journey, I kind of would journal a lot, and you know, when you start to go down this healing journey, you get inquisitive, you get explorative, you are in a mindset. You're in a mindset of being open and to learning. So you're just kind of open to all the different modalities that are out there. And I guess whatever resonates with you in that particular moment will pull you in. And from that, you will be shown something else. And then you go into that. Then you'll be shown something else. Then you go into that. It's like the universe will always be giving you little signs for you on your path. Little breadcrumbs, one of my friends told me once. So I think you have to be like, sit with yourself, go within yourself to be able to, and be quiet enough to be able to see these breadcrumbs, because they're just little whispers. They're not very obvious. It's like you've got to be really kind of centered to be able to see the breadcrumbs. But you know, that's all a journey. It's all part of it. Being centered for me and balanced is my number one most important thing. My spiritual, mental, physical health. It used to be physical health was like number one, and then mental health, and now it's like my spiritual. So it's all kind of interconnected, intertwined anyway, but you will learn this as you go, I feel, on your own journey. So yeah, I was doing a lot of research about the brain, the mind. It just interests me so much. Another good book that I would recommend, that I kind of have come across like so many times, is The Power of Now. I'll just get it on my shelf. This is The Power of Now by Elkhart Tolle, and for me, like, he resonated with me a lot. It's interesting because as I've travelled, like I love like just reading books, and I would kind of collect books. But then if I would go back to New Zealand, then I'll be like, oh, I don't need this book. Like, it's going to be too heavy to carry, so I would give it away. But this is probably the fourth book that I've come across that I've bought, and like I've bought them in like charity shops or secondhand shops. And yeah, the way I kind of read it is like, I'll open it up to a random page and just see what the message is for me that particular day. But I have also read it back to back. So I think, you know, I think it's just about being open to what is calling you on your journey. So yeah, I went through a stage of like really learning about the brain and the mind, the pineal gland, the spine, energy. Like, that's been a whole interesting thing as well. And then now, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, now for me it's like, now for me it's like all about my spiritual side of things, and I'm really just focusing for myself on like my meditation, self-nurturing, self-kindness, self-compassion, which is all a journey, especially in the last like few days. I don't know if you felt like that Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde. I had no idea that it was happening, because I like to kind of I check in on the astrology, but then I like to just live my life and then see how that interconnects with the astrology. But yes, definitely some stuff from the past came up for me that I didn't realise. I was like, what? I thought I had already dealt with that. But this is what this journey is all about. Like, you will kind of heal a thing, and then later on that lesson will come up again, but on an even deeper layer or a deeper level. So yeah, trauma. It's a word, if you're in this kind of healing vibe, that's, you know, floats around a lot. And I think it can be it feels very heavy energetically, you know. But the reason why it feels very heavy, it's because these are these things that they're gifts, really, aren't they? They're gifts that have come into our life experience to teach us like a really big lesson. So that's why it feels so heavy, because it's here to teach us a big lesson. So when you can realize that and kind of understand that on that deeper level, then you can be like, cool, this is actually just a lesson that the universe is trying to teach me. Okay, let's go into this. And sometimes I feel like when we go into a trauma, it can feel very like scary, because emotions are just energy in motion, right? So sometimes when we just let our emotions kind of take over our body, it can feel very unsettling, because it's like you're out of control. It's like that water energy, you know, you're like, whoa. But then when you're able to allow yourself to actually express that, then when you get onto the other side, it's like such peace. It's like such calm. And that is what our normal state is, to be at peace, to be at calm. But we've just experienced some things in life that have brought us some trauma. And trauma is not even just from this life alone, from your own life. It could be generational, passed on from generations before. It could be past lives. It could be so many different things that you're just unaware of, that sits in your subconscious, that sits in your DNA, epigenetics, like the trauma gets passed on. So it's like when you're healing your stuff, it's like it's not even that you're healing your own stuff, it's like you're healing your ancestors' stuff of the past and the future and the present moment. It's like a lot of the indigenous cultures, you know, they look at timelines, time and space, as the past, the future and the present all exists in one, you know, it's all at the same time, like this. Whereas on the Western side, it's like past, present, future. But actually when you're looking at it from that linear way of past, present, future, and it's all actually kind of interlinked, all existing at the same time. This is how amazing it is. When you're able to do that work within yourself and heal that within yourself, you are healing just so many lines of generational trauma from like all your ancestors. So they are like watching you and just so proud of you for all the work that you're doing. For example, just one little trauma from a generational thing. So I have Irish lineage. So, you know, back in the day when they had like the potato famine in Ireland, you know, with that there was this fear of scarcity of food, you know, and that gets stored in my ancestors' bodies and their DNA, and that gets passed on to the next generation, and then into me. So then without me realizing it, I'm like, oh, there's this fear of not enough food, there's scarcity of food. But actually, when you realize that fear is not real, it's all an illusion, you're able to come past that. But in order to come past that, you have to heal that wound of, oh, food is scarce. But then when you realize the world is abundant, as long as there's seeds, you know, you've got soil, you can grow bean sprouts with no sun, no soil, well, you need water. But, you know, bean sprouts, wild blackberries I was picking yesterday, organic, things that are so nutritious and good for you, like probably dock actually, but so many weeds that we've been told that are weeds and are poisonous and not good are just actually the complete opposite, and actually serve us and heal us. So when you're able to realize that and understand that, it's like, then you can heal that trauma. Like, yes, we didn't have potatoes, but actually we had so many other things that we could have eaten. And then you heal that for your ancestors as well as now, and for the future ancestors. So yeah, trauma can feel like it's going to be very heavy, and in that particular moment it will feel heavy. But in order to feel light again, you do need to process that and deal with that, and do it in your way, however you do it. For me, as I mentioned earlier on, I've done earlier on in my healing journey, I would call it, good 8 years ago, triggered by my divorce. Went through some counselling, CBT, like cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, then a lot of journaling, a lot of just being more open with people and talking with people and sharing stories. And then I went down and did Vipassana, which is a 10-day silence meditation retreat, where you go deep into your stuff with that, because you're not talking for 10 days and it's just you and your stuff. So yeah, if you're feeling called for something like that, then I would recommend doing that. But I wouldn't recommend doing something like that unless you've been doing your work along the way, like unless you've been kind of going to therapy or like doing journaling or something like that, because it can be quite confronting if you've not really looked at any of your traumas or any of your deeper stuff before you go into something like a 10-day silence meditation retreat. And it's not a retreat, it's you were there working. Let me tell you that right now. But so amazing. Like, I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I've done 3 of them now. 2 in New Zealand, 1 here in England, where I also like volunteered and helped out, which was actually so much, like, such an amazing journey as well, to be able to, a different experience, but so amazing to go and serve the people. I was actually on cleaning toilets, and I actually loved it, because I'd be in there cleaning the toilets thinking like, I know what it was like to be there sitting for 10 days in silence, and any little thing that could come up, like if you go to the toilet and it's dirty, you know, that could trigger something within you. So for me, it's like, I really wanted to like serve those people and make sure they had a clean like a cleansed space to, I guess, get rid of their waste, because also your waste is very emotional as well, spiritual, all that stuff, all interlinked. So yeah, just really wanted to touch a little bit on trauma today, and how scary it can seem, but actually once you start to kind of get into the motion and get into the energy of that healing energy, and doing what you need to do to heal your wounds, doing what you need to do along your journey, then it becomes a thing of like, it's just like a kind of a daily practice. And I think probably in this day and age, like, or maybe with our parents just before us, or the few generations before, like, things like trauma and mental health and spiritual health, it was very like, that's weird. There's like a stigma, you know, there's a big stigma, especially like, I know with my mum having bipolar, there was a big stigma around that with her mental health. And like, not that there's anything wrong with medication. I think medication has a really important part to play, but I also think equally, like, your spiritual health, your nutrition, how you show up in the world, like, that's so important as well. I feel like it's just so holistic. But yeah, I feel like it's cool, because the conversations that I've been having with people that, like my new cafe job, and just people I kind of come into contact with, I feel like a lot of us is like, we're here, we're healing our trauma, we're healing our ancestors' trauma, and like, that's cool. And if you're not doing that, that's cool as well, because at the end of the day, we're all on our own individual journeys, and what that person's doing has nothing to do with me, and what I'm doing has nothing to do with you. But yeah, I just felt to just come and share a little bit about that, because I feel like when we can share our experiences, you just don't know who you're going to help, you know. And I feel like I've just learned so much in the past 8 years, and continuing to learn so much, that I wanted to share. So yeah, in the future I may look at doing some more videos. I don't know, I'm just kind of going with the flow and seeing what the universe is calling me to do. But yeah, just wanted to touch a little bit on trauma today, and just, you know, if you're doing your work, just know that you're doing an amazing job. Your ancestors see you. The universe has got your back always. And I use the word universe interlinked with God, source, whatever, at the same time. It's all the same thing. It's out there, but it's actually in here. It's so cool when you see like, as above, so below, as within, so without. Oh, it's so, so good. Yeah, so you are seen. Keep doing the work. Keep shining for yourself first and foremost. And when you're able to do that, your light just shines and reverberates art so beautifully. So yeah, just sending lots of love. I'll save this on the old gram, and then maybe later put it on YouTube as well. But just keep doing your work. Gabor Mate is the guy I would recommend watching the documentary on, called Trauma. In New Zealand for a while it was free, maybe like a year and a half ago. I think you can probably Google it, I just don't really know. You might have to pay a small fee, but totally recommend and worth it. And he's got a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. He's on Instagram. He's been massive for my journey. I think, yeah, very, very important documentary to watch, I would say. And then also, if you're feeling called to, I would recommend The Power of Now, Elkhart Tolle. He also has another book called A New Earth, which is a really good read as well. And this really just talks about being in the present moment, which has helped me. It's still helping me now. I always have to keep coming back and remembering to be present, because the traumas or the triggers can take you back to those past experiences. But when you're able to come back and be like, oh yeah, the present moment is now, and actually everything's fine, and actually everything's good, then you're able to bring your nervous system to equilibrium, and allow yourself to breathe. Because when you have a trauma, like when you have a trigger, your nervous system can get really like overrun, and your heart speeds up. You're breathing faster. You can't actually think clearly. You can't see clearly. You're in that fight or flight response, even though there's actually nothing to be in a fight or flight response to react to. So yeah, when you're able to kind of come back to equilibrium and be centered and in the present moment, you'll be able to deal with whatever's confronting you at that particular moment, which will be a trigger. But yeah, there's so many different modalities in healing trauma. So yeah, I would just go with the flow, keep doing what you're doing, and oh yeah, one last thing, just be super compassionate with yourself. Super compassionate and patient. Those are the two biggest things: compassion for self and patience. Oh, love you all so much. Have the most amazing day. If you're going to sleep on the other side of the world, have sweet dreams. And if you're on this side, yeah, just have the most beautiful day. Love you all heaps. Bye.